Hey, John. Good to see you here on the podcast. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Good to see you as well.
Yeah, we had a good time in Denver or Golden, Colorado at the EGS event recently and just chatting. And I said, you know what, John, you'd be fantastic to have on the show. So just as a little bit of intro, you are the president. Welcome, or congratulations on getting that promotion of Moseys Production Machinists in Southern California. Are you in Santa Ana? Where exactly are you? Anaheim? Where
We're
would you
in
say?
we're in Anaheim,
You're in
just
Anaheim.
south of Placentia. Yeah, so
Okay.
Anaheim.
And you've been an employee in that business for a very long time. And as I said, just took over as president not too long ago. So let's give us a little bit of a background on you and the company, and then a snapshot of maybe what Moseys looks like today. And then we'll get into more detail.
All right. Well, I've been in manufacturing, specifically contract machine shop, for about 30 years now. Started much smaller companies running machines making oil tool parts, and
Mm,
those companies transitioned out, were sold, or whatever happened to them. Ended up here in 99. So I've been here since 1999.
okay.
Every Just about every position within the organization except finance. So
Hmm.
started running machines, cleaning machines, setting up machines, got into some light programming, fixture design, supervisory roles throughout the years. Ended up director of operations about 10 years ago. And from there, just slowly gained more responsibility to chief ops officer, and now president, COO. So the owner has mostly retired. He stops by a couple times a week to hang out and see what's going
Hmm.
on, and it's a good source of advice and information, but pretty much hands off at this point. And us kids, as he calls us, are now running the business. So
As kids with 30 years of experience. Um,
yeah.
yeah, Bob was on Machine Shop Mastery podcast and was a wonderful guest, as you can imagine. And just, yeah, a wealth of wisdom and a super solid human being. So,
Yeah,
um,
he is that.
it, yeah. And the business was started by his father. Is that right?
That's correct. They started the business in 1975. His dad, Freddie, started, and I hope I don't get this wrong. I've heard it a lot of times, so I think I have it now. But his dad was a onesie twosie machinist, prototype and mold. I believe it was in mold,
Mm-hmm.
and decided that he didn't want to make one of anything anymore. So started a
Mm-hmm.
company to do production work. And
Okay.
shortly after that, brought Bob on when he came out of the Air Force. He
Got it.
started working in the business and been building the business ever since.
Yeah.
My wife and I started here, like I said, in 99. She started a little bit before me. We weren't married at the time. We got married after. But
But you knew each other before you started.
no, we met each
Oh,
other
you
here.
met her here. Oh, nice. I love
Yeah,
that story. I love it.
yeah. So it was the workplace romance turned marriage. And we've been together ever since. But now we're
Congratulations.
we're with Nick, Bob's son. He is in
Hmm.
the CFO position. So Christy is Chief Human Resources. Nick is CFO, and I'm President, COO, and we were handed the torch. So we're taking it from here.
That's a that's a powerful combination there. That's awesome. And so let's
Yeah.
give a little bit of the snapshot of what Mosey's looks like today, who you serve, number of machines or people or whatever.
So we're 22 spindles. We serve aerospace, medical device, laboratory side. We do some oil tools, some natural gas, a little bit of EV. Um, that's pretty much it. Anything that comes in on contract that has sufficient volume for our capabilities. We don't
Mhm.
really do one or two piece orders anymore. It doesn't fit the structure of the business. We do a lot of automation, so quantity is what fits us best.
Mhm.
We're 33 people today. So
Okay.
33 people right now.
Yeah.
We'll stay that size for the foreseeable future. It's what the automation has allowed us to do in our milling and turning and five axis turning. Um, work centers.
Yeah, you have
So
a bunch of robots in that place. So
yeah,
it's a fun place to tour around for sure.
yeah, fun place to be. We
Yeah.
have a lot of cool stuff going on.
Yeah. So, can you just go back a couple years and describe maybe what decisions led up to you deciding you needed a different management system to help run the business with that, we got introduced and started
Oh,
talking with you guys?
absolutely. We were on an ERP system before we were on ProShop that was a SQL based, very very much like an older DOS based type system where a lot of tab and black screens and just very dated. They updated the system, put a user interface to it, but the function of it was the same. Now, it
Hmm.
was a great system for the financial side. It did really
Okay.
good there, and scheduling was fairly strong, but everything else was lacking. It didn't involve quality at all. So
Mm-hmm.
scheduling
Right.
and finance was all the CRP did. We were looking for something more to capture operational data, to close the single point of failure gaps that we had in people setting up and operating through memory, through
Mm-hmm.
experience rather than data.
Mm-hmm.
So we started looking for a way to capture the data, keep the data, and provide the data at the source of work. And
Yeah.
ProShop came along. We interviewed a few different ERPs. At the time, ProShop was absolutely the strongest at getting that data and providing it to the people at the source of work. So we
Mm-hmm.
made a move. It was a fun move because it wasn't just the ERP that we changed. Little lesson for everybody that may hear this. We changed our ERP. We added technical difficulty. We added we added a quality system in high QA and QuickBooks all at the same time. Oh, and a quoting app in paperless parts all at the same time.
Wow, that's a lot of
Yeah.
changes.
Well, if you're gonna do it, I guess you just do it.
Yeah,
So we
go
did
all
it.
in. Okay.
Yeah, it was fun. Not really fun, but it was a little bit of fun. It was a lot of
Well,
stress, a lot of hours.
yeah, we'll get into more of that. Um, was part of the motivation to capture that operational data and make it more data driven than memory driven? Was that driven by like your workforce, like this silver tsunami, baby boomers, lots of retirements of these people that have been in the business for years? I know that's been a theme at many shops that I've talked with.
100%. That's the driving factor in making a big change for us was the fact that we had several people, and some of them had a couple of them, two people exactly, had already exited the business
Mm,
that took a lot with them.
got it.
We were able to recover, of course, and
Sure,
get
but
back on.
it was probably
What's that?
hard, right?
Yeah, no, it was absolutely hard. A lot of wasted time and a lot of cost
Hmm.
that we wouldn't have gone through if we had something in place that had that data. You're still going to have a learning curve because having the data is not the complete solution. There is skill and experience
Oh, of course. Yeah.
that's required, but at least if you have the directions, you can get there. Without the directions, you have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, it's like trying to bake a cookie without even knowing what the ingredients are if you don't have a recipe. you know,
Yeah.
you could be a great chef, but you're not going to make the same cookie without
No.
knowing what goes into it. Um, so, was the complexity or cost or expense of that those missing those people? Was it just in like longer setup times and like reinventing the wheel for
Oh,
how parts were made or higher scrap rate or like what went into that?
if you can think of it, we've probably experienced it.
Okay,
There's scrap, there was cost, there was lag in time, there was OTD hits we suffered in metrics. I mean, it it, it hit the business end to end because the people that left, they weren't operators or just setup people. We're looking at senior level design people that built fixtures and wrote programs. We're looking at a quality manager.
got it, got it.
Yeah, it was a big hit that we would have suffered either way, because it was time. Those people were leaving. It wasn't
Hmm.
anything that
Sure.
was we weren't blindsided by it, but we weren't ready
Yeah.
for it either. So that
Got
was
it.
a big driver to close those gaps.
Yeah. No, I'm sure there's some bittersweet, wishing a cherished coworker a good retirement, but at the same time, like, holy crap, what are we going to do without this person?
Hmm.
Right. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Um, all right. So you assessed several systems, decided on ProShop. Thank you very much for that. Um, and so when exactly was that? Can you refresh all of our memories?
That was 21.
2021. Okay.
Yeah.
So also coming out of COVID.
Yep.
Yeah. And besides that one system, can you think of, other systems, other spreadsheets, other little databases, things that you were using to maybe accommodate for the fact that it didn't have quality and operational data and sort of
Oh
combine all
yeah.
those things into one?
So the operational data, we were using Excel. Before that, we had forms that we would fill out and then photocopy and upload those to the server. And then the operators, instead of people would get those handwritten forms for the
Hmm.
setup that were legible, sort of. They would write all over them and then turn it back in. The programmer would decipher that and then rewrite the form, photocopy it or scan it, put it back in the server again.
Hmm.
Our metrics is where we were missing the most. We had to do the most deep dive without a good system, and we had to go in and mine our SQL server and use it was Microsoft Access at the time, Excel and Access in combination to build metrics, and we're really big on metrics. We like to
Hmm.
really understand our on-time delivery, our cost, our revenue, efficiencies, utilizations. We roll it up into a OEE score and publish it for everybody to see and understand. And we had that was all manual, and I was the one that used Excel and wrote the formulas, then put that in Access and built the forms and did all of that. And if it broke, I had to remember and reteach myself how I
Hmm.
did all of it. I mean, it was a lot of work and a lot of time
Hmm.
put into changes, updates, and fixes when they needed to be done. And Microsoft loves to update when they do.
Of course.
Things
Yeah.
things tend to not work the same anymore sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was
And I
interesting.
imagine, all that work you were doing was taking you away from actually working, on operational improvements and whatever in the business itself. You're just like spending time putting numbers together.
Well, yes and no. It took mostly away from family time, personal time.
Oh,
It
wow.
was
Okay.
after hours when I would go home and work till 10, 11 o'clock at night,
Holy
building
cow.
spreadsheets and doing all of that. It wasn't miserable. I enjoy doing it, but it just wasn't value added for anybody long term.
Hmm. How'd your wife feel about you working till 10 at night on spreadsheets?
No, she was fine. She got to go watch TV and left. I left her alone. Yeah.
Okay.
She's yeah, we
That's
switched. We
good.
switched. I got free time. She's like, uh-oh. Yeah. Now he's
So
gonna
you
bug
got
me.
so you got free time once you got ProShop in place. Is that what you're alluding to?
Sure, all of the systems, the paperless pro
Right.
shop.
Yeah.
We were on HiQ. We're not anymore. We're on a different system now. Same basic premise, automatic balloon
Hmm.
tagging and record keeping. But yeah, once we put those systems in place and figured out how to get them to work together and work for us the way that we do things, because we're a little bit different. We
Hmm.
have a tendency to kind of do things our own way.
Yeah.
So once we got all that to gel, yeah, it opened up quite a bit of time for all of us, not just me, but everybody here that
Hmm.
were moving papers and keying in information all day. They're not doing that anymore. Now they have time to talk to customers and talk to employees and build culture, which is essential in any business.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely get the impression when I visit Moseys that you guys have a really solid culture, a team that's really bought in,
Mhm.
and just is a good place to be.
And it's not an accident. It took a lot of work to get there, a lot of years, and we made a lot of mistakes along the way. Yeah.
Well, I do want to come back to that, but let's talk for a moment about the fact that you decided to undertake, your ERP, quoting, quality, and accounting software changes all at once. And you said it was fun, but not actually fun.
Mhm.
Can you just elaborate a little bit more on what that process was like?
It was brutal. Yeah, it was brutal. We had a lot of good support from all the softwares involved. So
Hmm.
so everybody helped us onboard and they helped us figure it out. There's a lot to bringing in a semi-automated system in the background that you have to do still. So it's not easy. It's not just plug and play.
Hmm.
Depending on I guess how deep you want to go with it. It
Right.
doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily always plug and play. And for us,
Sure.
we wanted to go all the way in and understand every aspect of it. So we spent a lot of hours in training with paperless parts team, pro shops team, high QA's team, learning basically how to set the systems up so they could work with each other as efficiently as possible for us.
Hmm.
Uh, it, it was just a lot of weekly training. 3 of the 5 days we would be in some kind of webinar or group training, learning
Right.
how to do things and then practicing that after. So,
Sure.
you know,
If in hindsight, would you choose to spread those apart and not do them all at the same time?
I would say probably, but most likely no. I'd probably just do it again. It's got it done with.
Just
You
rip the
know, it
band-aid
was,
off and make the
yes.
timeline shorter. What was the
Well,
timeline? Do you remember from when you started till when you were kind of running work orders and having those work fairly well together?
well, Pro Shop throttled us back, uh, rightfully so, and probably it was a good thing. But we were trying to do it like the first week. They said no, no,
Okay.
no. Our implementation specialist said no, no.
Right.
We're gonna follow this work order, which is the training work order built in, and we're gonna
Hmm.
do this to this schedule, and you'll understand why as we progress. And it didn't take long to understand why we had to do it in order. But it
Hmm.
was we were working off live orders on a live schedule. I don't remember really, but I'm gonna say it's no more than 3 months into the process.
Okay. Yep. That seems pretty typical. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Do you remember as you went through that, was there a moment where there was a feature or something that you realized how it was going to work or how what the impact might be that you were like, wow, this is going to be a game changer for us?
Yes, the ability to issue NCRs on the fly at the source by the operator was
Mm,
really important. And the way that we sold it to the operator, so nobody wants to write a non-conformance. You know, it's bad.
sure.
You're a bad guy. You made a bad part. Well, it's not true. You need to capture that data and Pareto it so you can look at what is causing these deficiencies or defects in process or product that we can eliminate and you don't have to worry about anymore. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is to capture all the data points, Pareto them and say, okay, what's my largest target here? Where can I
Hmm.
make the most impact with the least amount of change? And let's handle that first. And we were
Yeah.
able to start doing that where you're never going to get, well, never the long time. It's hard to get people on the floor that are really passionate about what they're doing. They're dedicated and they care about cycle times and they care about process to stop and grab a piece of paper and a pen and write down a problem or compose an email or do the things
Hmm.
that you don't have if you don't have an automated avenue to do that. And with ProShop, we were given that ability and they absolutely use it.
So,
You
did
know,
it take much to get them to buy in that this is not a bad thing? It's a learning opportunity for improvement in the future.
no, A couple conversations and some reassurance that this isn't a tool for punishment. We're not, nobody's using this to judge you. It's us to be able to judge our process and the tools that we're providing you. And are we doing, we as the management group, are we doing a good job of making sure that you have the right playing field?
Hmm.
So it's about us, not about you. And that took a minute to seed. Once that seeded, it's easy. I get constant NCR activity for everything. Tip,
Right.
tool, tip, and things that never would have even been thought of before. They would just replace an insert. Well, now they're replacing an insert and writing an NCR about this tool chip too early. So we need
And
help.
has that really improved your rate of improvement and those sort of root causes of things like that?
Double digit growth.
Double digit growth.
Yeah.
And that's one of the factors, your ability to make those improvements, have a
Yeah.
system for that.
Absolutely. Being able to onboard a crushing amount of work in a time frame that would have been impossible before because we would have been too busy chasing down why did this go wrong, what happened here, what happened here. Now we know and we can act so much faster.
That's very
So
cool.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah, that mind shift from NCRs are bad to NCRs are opportunities for improvement
Mhm.
is, I wish, something that every shop would embrace. And obviously, there are, to be able to do it more quickly and have less cost per NCR, as opposed to writing a paper ticket and doing all the. That's of course an important tool of that, but the mindset shift I think is the most important. Um, I
Yeah.
Yeah, I was interviewing another customer who said that they had the same exact shift, and they said we're putting together like individualized training plans for different employees based on their NCR activity. It's like you need to learn a little bit more about this or that, based on what we see in the data. So.
Mhm.
And their teams feel supported, and it's not punishment, and it's just there for growth and success. So yeah, good for you guys. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Um, I remember when we came and did a sort of a testimonial video. The sounds like the process in your office and order entry was dramatically reduced. The time frame and just the lack of having to do all the paper. I forget the name of the woman. She's just incredibly sweet, one of your order entry customer service people. But she was like, "Yeah, it's completely changed my day, my week, and now I can spend way more time actually talking with customers, like you said." Can you just
Mhm.
elaborate a little bit on sort of what happened in that front end process?
Absolutely. That would be Joanna. And
Yes, of course, Joanna.
she takes care of all of our customers.
Hmm.
She's all day on the phone talking to customers, emailing them Teams and text messages, and every way you can contact somebody, she's utilizing, and so are they now. They love it. They love the
Right.
openness of communication. Uh, but that's what the automated order entry, as automated as it is, the availability of the technology in ProShop allowed us or allowed her to not spend so much time keying in every piece of data into a SQL based system. So it freed up a lot of time and the ability to get information so much faster. She's on a conference call with a important customer and they're doing waterfalls, trying to find out exactly when they're going to have these parts they want to expedite or whatever the case may be. The data is instantaneous. You can pull the work order up and there it is. There's
Mm.
no searching through different fields and screens and tabbing through screens, compiling data off of 7 or 8 different windows to get to where you need to be. It's right in front of you.
And
So
what
yeah,
has the reaction from customers been to that increased level of responsiveness or service?
they like it. The biggest response that we get from anybody is from customer auditors.
Okay.
They like the fact that we do have all the data at our fingertips and it's preserved. They
Hmm.
like the setup information and just everything's captured and done
Hmm.
in a very user friendly and reader friendly way. So they really liked it. They liked that the quality side of things is integrated into the ERP.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you end-to-end connection. You can track cost to errors. You can track the effect of OTD on errors. I mean, or from errors. You can do all of that. So it's
Right.
really a good system. Um, we haven't had a customer not like it yet. The only comment that we got from a customer, and this is a really, really stringent supplier quality engineer,
Mm-hmm.
and she came in and lit us up. It was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic.
What it
She,
can, yeah, share more about that.
oh, it was just about bonded parts and about record keeping and about all these things that were really micro details
Mm-hmm.
um, that any auditor for like an AS research or surveillance may 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 point out as an opportunity for improvement, but she drilled into it. And her only complaint about the system was that we couldn't configure the HTML side to do things like audio alerts and flashing text and really draw out if you had a nonconformance ever in your life on a part number. It should buzz. The city of Anaheim should be aware. So, you know, and I get it. But that's my fault, not ProShop's fault, because I'm able to go into those I believe they're called iframe boxes
Mm-hmm.
and look at the HTML. And I've played with it enough and got and Googled enough now that I can actually bold and color text and I can do things that affect
Right.
how notes look and how work order operational notes look. That kind of gave her what she was looking for, but then that wasn't enough. Now she wants me to attach wave files
Really,
and
like audio alerts and have speakers
yeah,
on every computer.
yeah, which hey, maybe that's a suggestion. But
Well, that's
it
funny.
was deep.
And I presume you've experimented with just going to the preferences and changing the type of text editor for a
Mhm.
field to the WYSIWYG type, so you can make it just big and bold and red and underlined and whatever you feel like.
Actually, no.
All right, maybe
Instead,
you and
I
I
did it,
should
I did it the hard
talk.
way.
Maybe you and I should talk after we hit stop on this, because yeah,
Yeah.
any notes field, like notes that flow on parts that flow to work orders, or um, yeah, pretty much universally you can do that without having to HTML it. So
Okay.
yeah, let's talk more after this. But I'm glad that
Sure.
surfaced. But that's a really funny story. Um, uh, have some of the maybe uh, the more reasonable quality auditors from your customers. Do you believe? I have this supposition that uh, when a customer, your customer sends in their quality team to do an audit, that if they feel highly confident, that is more likely to translate into more orders with your company. Like, this is one of our vendors we want to double down with and grow more with. Do you feel like there's been an impact in the work you've gotten because they feel like you're just a really together vendor that's less risky maybe than others that don't have as stable systems?
I would say absolutely yes. And I have not had confirmation of that from a customer saying, well, because of your ERP system, we are going to give you more work.
Sure.
Um, but we've been growing and we weren't growing at that rate before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's coming from something, and it's not just personality. It's the system. It's how the company is operating. It's trust. They trust us, and they trust us because we're able to give them what they want when they want it with certainty and accuracy.
All right.
So, we do what we say we're going to do. And the only way we're able to do what we say we're going to do, because we say some pretty big things. The only way we're able to do that is because we have a good system that allows us to be able to see what we need to see to make those commitments and then hold to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's a great way to put it. Um, do you have any sense of the return on investment of your pro shop subscription cost to the bottom line or top line or whatever of your business?
We are getting our money out of it for sure. I don't have I don't have math that I
Mm-hmm.
can show you right now for
Mm-hmm.
that, but every bit of the cost of pro shop is returned to us in time back,
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Right. Right. Is time
Yeah.
savings like labor, overhead labor, and even on the shop floor? Is that, do you think, sort of the biggest impact? Just doing more in less time?
It's mostly in overhead. The
Mm-hmm.
shop floor, we had an MES system in place before, so we were scanning travelers. They were fairly automated. It was still paper based, but they were fairly automated. It's just the tribal knowledge was our big
Mm.
sore point.
Yeah.
But the overhead side, the administrative side is incredibly faster. The purchasing side of things is incredibly faster. All of that has given those people the ability to work on the business with me instead of just doing the day-to-day tasks. We can strategize now. We can try things and experiment and build new relationships with outside processing and find new material sources and leave the building. Our procurement manager is out a lot, visiting and learning. He's on boards now. He's on the NTMA board now. He's learning and making connections where before he was at a desk punching in purchase order information.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
That's
it's beneficial for sure.
that's cool. I've not heard an anecdote quite like that. That's really cool. Because yeah, getting outside the building and getting more. I mean, being part of NTMA and these groups, there's so much great learning, so much great networking, and peer collaboration. So that's
Uh,
wonderful.
Something that Bob did for me early on is get me involved in associations and
Mm-hmm.
networking and meeting people. I'm not naturally good at that. I'm not. I'll talk to you all day, but you got to start the conversation and you got to ask me questions, or else we're just gonna sit here and stare at each other. Uh, so it's not my sweet spot. But he pushed me out and got me involved in NTMA, and through NTMA, I've been able to learn an unbelievable amount of mostly how to act and how to think about things. So through the associations, I've been to other countries. I've been to multitude of shops, and you know very well. You visited tons of shops. How much you learn from just being someplace else and seeing other people's activities and other people's thought process. How much you can absorb from that. And I've had the opportunity to do that. I'm trying to position us now so that our people can go do the same kinds of things, and freeing up time is the way you do it. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how we've our strategy in automation and all of that is to be able to free up time so people can use their abilities that are the strongest, and their strongest ability is their thoughts, their thought process,
Mm-hmm.
their cognitive powers, not the hands. I mean, robots can load and unload machines.
Yeah.
We need
Yeah.
people processing and thinking and discovering and planning and making mistakes. Lots of mistakes. That's where we
Sure.
learn.
Yeah.
Try to keep them as low cost as possible, but lots of mistakes.
Yeah.
Um, when they have time, they do that, and then they grow.
Yeah. I just had a thought, and I'll just share it here. We have lots of clients in all sorts of places, many near you. Would it be useful if we helped facilitate like collaborative shop tours of, you go visit another pro shop client with your team, and then they come and visit your client, your site with their team, and you guys like share ideas, not just around pro shop, but just around things in general? Would that be something that would be useful to you?
Yeah, we do that now to a small degree,
Okay.
but something structured with specific intentions would not be a bad idea. But we do share now. We have forums and we talk. We're a small
Yeah.
community, you know.
Yeah. Sure.
We're a large
That's
community. There's lots of shops, but
but
we're
it's
smaller than you would think.
Is tight knit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
very
in a
tight net.
local region. So you mentioned you used to work late into the night on spreadsheets, and you don't, and now your wife has to deal with you in the
Mhm.
evening. Can you just share a little bit more of maybe the personal impact on the changes that you guys have made in the business in the last few years?
Yeah, the personal impact is, well, personal growth, of course. Um, Getting time back and then being able to reinvest that time in other areas of the business have been really, really helpful. Um, but a lot of it is being able to invest in ourselves as well. So we invest a great deal of time in the company while we're here during the day, and then at night discussing and researching and learning and talking to other people. But a lot, it's not just sitting in front of a laptop punching in formulas. Now it's learning more than discovering the metrics that should have been just provided to you.
Right.
So yeah, it's a shift. Instead of running the business from the business and from the house, now we can run the business from the business and then help grow the business from the house.
Mm, I love that perspective. That's very cool. Um, we talked about culture a little bit earlier. Do you feel like there's been a change in any of the culture aspects of the business with a more digitization of the company with all these different tools that you brought on?
Yes, or whenever you start digitizing, you become more relevant to the younger generation.
Hmm.
So we've been able to find some talent that we probably wouldn't have been able to acquire otherwise. Um, we're, we get constant compliments on how clean and organized everything is, and a lot of that is because there's not paper everywhere. There's not blueprints hanging off machines. There's nothing hanging off the machines anymore. There's no
Right.
magnets on the machines holding up paper after paper. It doesn't look like a billboard. So that all of that helps you, whether you realize it or not. When someone walks out on your floor and they just look out, organization affects them. Machines being straight rows, tidy, lack of clutter, all of that affects them, whether they say that or not, or they even realize it or not. It all affects. And I can't really quantify the business growth based around that, but I can quantify the positive comments, and we get a lot of positive comments about the shop, peers and customers alike.
Hmm. That's cool. Have
So
you've recruited some younger team members to backfill some of those folks retiring?
yes, we've had some youngsters come in, some rookies that we're working on training them. Some of them have really grown quickly, and they're doing a fantastic job. Some are a little more work. I mean, but
Sure.
it's all part of the process. It's all
That's
work.
awesome. That's awesome. Do you think your average employee age has shifted down in the last 3 years, 4 years?
I would say so. We have several people in their 20s.
Oh,
We
cool.
have a couple in their 30s, and then there's a big difference. It goes your 20s, a couple in your 30s, and now the rest of us are in our 50s or
Right.
60s. Right. So there's
Sure.
still a big gap there, but we are able to bring in some younger people and from places you wouldn't even think of. One of our procurement people, she came from Nordstrom's. Now it's purchasing, but she wasn't in
Hmm.
purchasing, she was in stocking.
Okay.
But because of the system and the interest and what the company offers her in education, she's exploding. She's growing rapidly in purchasing.
That's
So
super cool.
yeah, we couldn't have done that before. It would have been an old system that's, like I said, DOS based looking and clunky and hard to navigate and understand. And that's not an attractant.
Yeah. 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 For sure. Well, that I love hearing that. As we look to kind of start to wrap up this conversation a little bit, I'd love to hear what your biggest wins and sort of best strategic moves, just as a business in general of any type, that has helped Moseys been so successful over the years?
The biggest thing that's helped us grow is responsiveness. Uh, we don't ever not answer the call or delay the conversation. You just we handle it right away, and we handle it with data, with soft skills, um, and we make sure that the buyer or the manager that's on the other end of the line is comfortable when they hang up the phone. They understand what they're going to get, and they're comfortable that they're going to get it. And then when the time comes for them to receive what we promised them, they get it, no matter what. I think that's the single the biggest thing that has
Hmm.
helped us capture more work from existing customers as well as new work, which is hard to convey that to somebody who's never met you before until they talk to us twice, maybe
Right.
three times. And then they say, "Oh, well, you guys are about your business.
Hmm.
You are responsive and you're here through emails. As soon as the quote comes in, we're on it. We
Right.
start working with them, asking them questions, suggesting things that maybe we see that could be
Hmm.
beneficial. And half the
Yeah.
time they're receptive, the other half they say just I want a price and the time, and that's it. But you know where you're going from there.
Yeah. Sure.
You know how that's going to
Sure.
shape up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So
That's such good advice. We just did a an episode of the Making Chips podcast talking about customer service and the lack of it in some companies and just how critical it is for growth. And that's exactly what you're speaking to. There's this old mentality, which I think thankfully is going away in the business where, and one of the guys shared, where they'd have a customer, inquire about the status of a job. They didn't know. So they'd go out and talk to the machinist, and the machinist says, well, it'll be done when it's done, and they'll get it after
mhm.
it's done. Like,
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
that doesn't cut it anymore, right?
And
Um,
we've had that mentality here. We have people here that will answer you like that, but you just follow that up with, okay, so when will that be?
right.
I
Sure.
need to know. I have a customer waiting on an answer. I have to know. So I'm not leaving your workstation until I understand. So when will it be?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you're gonna get all kinds in all different places.
Sure. 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 Um, one last question, and then I want to ask about how people can reach out to Moseys if they want to learn more. Can you picture for me, if you had not put ProShop and maybe even paperless and the other tools in place 3 years ago, what the business might look like today if you were still on your old system, old way of doing things?
I think from a growth perspective, we would probably be. Sorry, it's really hard to say. Probably a half, probably half to two-thirds of what we were able to accomplish, we would still have gotten done, but we would all be beat up.
Hmm.
Um, I think just because of the grit that the individuals that run the show here, and I mean the whole staff, not just the C-suite people, I mean
Hmm.
everybody, the
Yeah.
grit determination to win that they have. We would have still got a lot of it done. It just would have been unbelievably taxing, and we wouldn't have had a chance to learn more about what's coming in the future and what's available to us now in AI and API stuff and everything that's out there. We would have learned probably zero about all of that, and now we're learning about that, and we're starting to formulate what's next. And
Hmm.
we wouldn't been making any plans. We would have just been busy working,
Right.
you know. So it would have kept us from working on the business, and we only would have been working in the business. So, and that's a tragedy because you can't sustain year over year growth like that. Eventually, you'll hit a
No, of
wall.
course. Yeah, you'll
We
burn
were
out.
approaching.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
You'll lose people. Yeah. Well, it definitely feels great to be able to contribute to the success of you and your team and the business there. So thank you for the opportunity. Um,
Thank you.
so yes, if people want to learn more and reach out to this incredibly capable machine shop that you run, how would you suggest they do that?
You can reach out to us on LinkedIn, Moseys. You can reach out to us at www.moseys.com.
Just
website.
Moseys.com. Okay,
Yes,
nice.
sir. Or email me directly at johnz@moseys.com.
Okay, very good.
Then we'll chat.
Yeah. Well, John, it's such a pleasure again to get to spend some time and chat with you. Just very excited about the future of Moseys and what you're doing with it. And it's an honor to support you guys. And thanks for being willing to share your story.
It was a pleasure chatting with you too, Paul. And thank you for all your support.
Yeah, you bet. All right. Cheers, my friend.
All right, bud.